officially on the air. What's good? What's going on? And welcome to Lyrically Speakin with Cyan Alexander. I'm your host, Cyan Alexander. I'm representing the illustrious, prestigious Soul Hype organization. Shout out to the loved one beside of everything. Shout out to the loved one. Also, shout out to Mama Law, Sweet Artworks for the lyricist shirt. We out here, man. If you don't know nothing else, I'm a hip hop recording artist, poet, all that kind of stuff, lyricist to be exact. And here, Lyrically Speakin with Cyan Alexander, we not only reviewing songs and lyrics from your favorite songs, but we're also gonna break down like what makes them dope, not so dope, super dope. We're gonna break down the elements and the science behind what makes what we do as artists really stand out and really something else that, you know, some people that don't really think about. You know, what's in the music beyond the beat? What's in the words? What's in the lyrics? You know, how do we craft these things? Anyway, let's get into the breakdown. So the sonic breakdown is gonna compose of 4 elements. I'm gonna break down the types of rhymes, the flow and the cadence, the tone and delivery, and the stanzas. Because in my mind, all these verses, the best ones anyway, are poems as they stand alone without the beat. So I'm gonna do my best to break them up into stanzas, even though they're technically all free verse. They won't really fall into specific categories, but I'm gonna try to break it up and use that terminology to, you know, make it make sense in a different kind of a way. So at the sonic breakdown, I'm gonna get into the phonic breakdown. And with the phonic breakdown, I'm gonna delve into different literary devices, the psychology and the philosophy behind the verse as I interpret it. Now, it's all my opinion. And if you disagree, it's all good. I'm opening this up to conversation. I just wanted to kind of have a different type of conversation about our music. With all that said, get into the first breakdown. All right, so jumping in the lab coat, break it down. Verse 3, Kendrick Lamar, How Much a Dollar Costs. 2 Pimp a Butterfly, 2015. Now, if you're not familiar with the song basically tells the story of Kendrick Lamar riding through Johannesburg, South Africa in his luxury car. When he pulls up to a gas station, has a brief conversation with the teller at the gas station. And then on his way out, he has an interaction with a homeless man, which he plays out through the verses of the song. And it just plays the scenarios out in his head as he's conflicting as this man begs for $1 and he conflicts with the thought of giving him $1. Get into the breakdown of it, starting with the sonic breakdown. First things I want to start with is the flow and the cadence of the verse. The flow and the cadence of the entire song really is, you know, it's a medium pace kind of verse. It bounces along steadily. He doesn't really switch a lot of flows. He keeps it kind of steady and constant. It's like a flow of consciousness almost. And it doesn't really go up or down too much. That's kind of dope how he kind of kept it kind of steady and kept it mostly in his head as he played out these different feelings and emotions with the flow and the cadence as he bounced through. Tone and delivery. Clearly has an aggressive tone. He seems angry and upset with the situation at hand. It's dope that his tone itself displays that conflict, that anger. The rhyme scheme, so the way I try to break it down, I have a little bit of a color scheme going just to make a little bit more sense of the way that I follow the rhyme schemes. I broke it down into this verse into 24 lines, some would say 24 bars. And the way that I break down the rhymes is kind of like this. So peep if you follow.
All right, so I put the color code breakdown in the description because it was lengthy and it's probably going to change. So,
like I said before, and I will always say, in my opinion, the best rap verses are poetry in themselves. So I did my best to break this verse down into stanzas somewhat. And I based that kind of on the rhyme scheme, mostly the end rhymes. But sometimes it's a little bit different. But this one was pretty straightforward for the most part. So when I counted it out, as far as the end rhymes go, I kind of counted about 11 distinct like end rhymes if you break it up in a certain kind of way. And the verse begins with what's called a sestet, which is a 6-line stanza poetry. I feel like it's a good marker for that because that's where that first rhyme scheme, even though it's a lot of slant rhymes, it's not all direct rhymes. It's a lot of that rhyme scheme kind of breaks off there before it turns into something completely different, and it all the words in that stanza there. If you just left that just alone, it sounds like a poem in itself. Guilt tripping, feel of resentment. He's just diving into his feelings the whole time. Frustrated, indecisive, sour emotions. I should distance myself, keep it relentless. My selfishness is what got me here. That was a little bitty poem in itself before he started snapping. So I'm gonna tell you like I told the last bum, and he goes in on the old man about how the money is his and he shouldn't have to share it because it's his. Anyway, broke it down into stanzas. Opens up with a sestet with 6 lines. Then it has a 1 line standalone, and then he breaks it down into more. I think it's like 3 to 5 couplets. Like those are the lines that are just basic AABB rhymes, just 2 lines that rhyme together, then the rhyme scheme technically changes. And a couple of times he did tercets and quatrains, which is 3 or 4 line stanzas. And I like breaking them up into stanzas because when you say the rap without the beat and really hone in on the words themselves, it relays and displays a different meaning, a different feeling, than when the beat caters to it. But with this, the beat meshed with this song rather perfectly, so it didn't really do that. But just in general, you know, lyrics that can stand on their own are typically more impactful, in my opinion. Anyway, let's get into the phonic breakdown. So I like to start with the literary devices. So literary devices are things in English that you use to, put a little bit of flair, twist in your words. It's usually used in poetry and it's used in rap all the time, whether we realize it or not. So one of the literary devices I wanted to point out is called that was utilized in this verse is called an enjambment, which is a literary device in which a line of poetry carries its thought or idea over to the next line without a grammatical pause. So it could be in the middle of a sentence, or it could be a list being made and it ends the line with the word that continues the same thought on the next line. So a good example, my favorite example of him doing this in this verse would be the last couple of bars when he was saying, you're looking at the Messiah, the Son of Jehovah, the higher power, the choir that spoke the word, the Holy Spirit, the nerve of Nazareth. How he continued each line describing what it was without breaking it or ending one of the lines. So I thought that was dope. Another example of a literary device that was utilized in this verse is called a metonymy. And a metonymy is a figure of speech in which one object or idea takes place of another and which has close association to it. So, like, for example, if you were mentioning or talking about someone's car, you would call it wheels because, car has wheels, but the wheels are not the car. So that's a metonymy to call a car wheels because it's in association with the object. And again, using those same last couple of bars of the verse, he does that. He does that again, explaining or describing God, calling him the choir that spoke the word, the nerve of Nazareth, the higher power. None of these things say God exactly, but they're all titles closely associated with God or what God is. So that is an example of metonymy. Another example of a literary device is repetition. There's different types of repetition. There's alliteration, and then there's like syllabic repetition. He barely did any alliteration in this verse. So what I wanted to point out with this one, which I thought was cool, because I thought it had a building effect as well, and it added to the verse, it contributed to the power of the verse, is lines 18, 19, 20. He looked at me and said, I looked at him and said, he looked at me and said, and it was him saying and said all over, over and over again. But the way he did it built up to what was going on in the situation. He was talking to he didn't realize it, but he was talking to God. And he was going at him like he was just another dude out here. And it's kind of crazy how he was able to build that up by just repeating those simple 2 words. So the other things about the verse, that I decided to dive into and it made me think about was, the psychology of where he's coming from and even the philosophy of where he's coming from and breaking down and looking into psychological approaches. Um, looking at it from a humanistic approach, Kendrick in this moment, with the humanistic approach, it says human beings, our behavior is determined by, our self-image or our ideal self being in alignment. And in this case, you see that conflict with Kendrick. He's got this, battle going on in a sense that he probably wants to help this man because he knows he can. He can give him the money. He was going to go in there and spend it all on gas anyway. And he's got this luxury car and, all this thing. But at the same time, the idea of this man having the audacity of asking him or begging him for money like he owed it to him just because he had it made him feel kind of indifferent because, coming from where he's coming from as well, it's like, I don't do that over here type thing. I don't do that where I'm from. So it's crazy how he was able to throw those elements and build this conversation around that aspect of looking at things. All in all, with the whole song in itself and the verse, of course, it comes down to the question, and it made me think, what made this verse so powerful to me is, the question it makes you ask, if that was you in that situation, how would you have reacted? How do you react? Because we've all been in that situation where there's been a homeless person ask for money. You might have it, but you might not want to give it to them, or you might be concerned what they're going to do with it. Was Kendrick right or wrong in this situation? If he would have known that was God that he was talking to, would he have acted different? If you knew you were talking to God in a situation similar, would you have acted different? Or, it's God. God got everything. So why do you need to give him $1? All these kind of questions come up, and it all came, just from this man's interaction at a gas station in South Africa one day. So that has been the breakdown for verse 3, Kendrick Lamar, How Much a Dollar Costs. This has been the first episode of Lyrically Speaking with Cyan Alexander. And if you made it this far, stuck through with your boy, I appreciate you. Much love. Leave a like, a comment, a subscribe. Thank you for tuning in. Lyrically Speaking with Cyan Alexander. Be blessed.